My mother came into the bathroom to see why I was still in the bath. I told her about the two beings, and she said it was just my imagination. It wasn't. I've been in contact with them all my life now, and I'm now 71.
But I know it wasn't a dream. Just the way it felt, the way I tried to do it, the vibration I felt from I call it the center of my being, but it was like every cell was vibrating. It was like I heard a loud snap.
But I can also, if you've got time, I can
Yeah.
tell you a simple exercise to leave the body and travel
Please.
onto the astral plane. Now, I've done this since childhood. What I do,
I'm one of those people. I want to meet him. I want to talk to him. I want all these things. I want to communicate. I want to leave my body completely. Like, I'm very fascinated with this stuff, and I hope to do it.
yeah,
I
well,
really
you
wanna
will do it because you want to do it, and they want to meet with people who are willing, who are not frightened.
All right, so this was a really, really fun one. This is Kevin Briggs. He's a retired UK police officer. He can pop out of his body at will. He's been doing it for a very long time. I myself have also had a out-of-body experience, which is why, I'm not a skeptic of this stuff. I'm fascinated by people who can do it at will. Crazy. He's also been communicating with beings since he was 8 years old. He's 71 now, named Ort and Dee. They are Arcturians, and a lot of gems are dropped in this video. We have a lot of fun. What's fascinating about Ort and Dee is that people later on in Kevin's life, when he met them, they wrote books and published about meeting Ort and Dee. It's just like pretty cool stuff here. He even gives us techniques at the very end on like how to actually communicate and experience this stuff for yourself, because that's what it's all about, right? You got to have your own experience. Appreciate you guys being here. Consider subscribing. Maybe leave me a like and a comment if this video impacted you in any kind of way. It helps me spread awareness and then gets me a little bit closer to doing this full time. So without further ado, let's get on with it.
8 years old. Okay. What made you finally start talking about it? I mean, was this something that did you always talk about it, or was this something that you just recently started coming out about?
No, I only spoke about it to my brother and my wife. When I met her, I thought I'd better tell her about it. When I was going to ask her to marry, if she would marry me, so I thought I'd better tell her, so I told her. So I never spoke to anybody else about it. It was just part of who I am, really. And it wasn't until about 7 or 8 years ago, when I was 8, two beings materialized in my bathroom. They are Arcturians. They are fifth dimensional beings. They are guides and teachers. And I've had contact with them all my life now. And about 7 or 8 years ago, I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I came back from the bathroom. I got back into bed. I was about to snuggle down, and there was a bright light through the window. And it came into the bedroom and lit it up like a myriad of butterflies. It was just pure white light. And then Ort and Dee, the two that had materialized in my bathroom that I've had a lifelong contact with, materialized at the bottom of the bed. And after pleasantries, I asked them what was the reason for their visit. And they said, Kevin, we want you to write about your lifelong contact with us. We want you to speak about it. And I remember saying to Ort, I said, well, I don't mind speaking about it, but I'm not a writer. And they said, well, we will continue to guide you, we will continue to teach you, and we'll give you something to include in the books. I said I would write 2 books. So that the following morning, I told my wife about the visit, and I started writing that day, and I wrote Spiritual Consciousness, a Personal Journey, which covers many of my experiences from childhood to this present day. So.
Okay, fascinating. Why do you think they chose you? Why do you when you first saw them, let's backtrack to when you were 8, did it freak you out, or did it feel somewhat natural? I mean, did it not scare you? I'd be running to my parents' room.
No, it scared me initially when I was 8 years old. As I say, I was always sensitive to the different frequencies that surround us. And I was taking the bath at home, and I felt the change in the frequency in the bathroom. I looked to my right, and 2 beings materialized. This was Ort and Dee. And they were having some conversation. They were talking about me, not to me. I think the conversation went, Dee said, is this the boy? Ort replied, yes, this is a boy. Then Dee said, are you sure? I said, yes, this is a boy. She said, but look at him. He's small, he's uneducated, and he's frightened by our presence. And she was correct. I was terrified. There was some other conversation, and then they left. I say I was that frightened, I didn't get out of the bath. The water went cold, I was shivering, My mother came into the bathroom to see why I was still in the bath. I told her about the two beings, and she said it was just my imagination. It wasn't. I've been in contact with them all my life now, and I'm now 71. But to me, it's normal because I've had a lifelong contact with them. My reality is a greater reality than most, although I've met many now who have similar experiences with their own guides. I've met people that have had contact with Ort and Dee. So really, it's just expanding our collective human consciousness, really. And I've been fortunate that I've had a couple of guides that have assisted me. Without them, I'm sure I wouldn't be where I am now in relation to an understanding of who we are as a species, about consciousness and how conscious energy is in plants, trees, animals, in the earth itself, in the sun. That's who we are. We're a part of that. We're a part of that collective consciousness.
So if you had to sum up, and maybe this is going to be hard to do because it's 50 years here, if you had to sum up what the message is, what would you say? Like, why? What is their message? Is it that we are consciousness? And can you elaborate on that? Like, what would you say is the why they came to you, spoke to you, and what do they want you to talk about as far as consciousness goes?
Okay, well, I think consciousness is the main thread throughout my education with them. And they didn't sit me down in the classroom like they do with some people. I know they do that. With me, they gave a practical experience. A lot of those experiences were out of body, which we are able to do. It's something that there are many groups now who can regularly travel outside of the body. It's a natural human ability. We just have to learn how to do it, really, I would say. But the main thread of the education will be how to use consciousness or conscious energy as a conduit for communication, for travel, for healing, for education, for creation and co-creation. And when we understand that, we can communicate with them at their level of consciousness, which is what I do. And that's what they're asking me to share and speak about now. But I know what my particular mission is here. My mission is to help facilitate the reveal globally of their presence. And they tell me that they are here to assist with the evolution of humanity. And there are many like me now speaking out. Obviously, when I was younger, I never met anybody like myself. I was trying to reach out and find others, and I couldn't find anybody. But now, since I've been speaking out, I've met others that have very similar abilities, very similar contact, and even met people that have contact with Ort and Dee. So that's fascinating in itself, really. Really confirmation for me that, as my mother said, it was just my imagination. It wasn't. My friend Rebecca Renfell just recently written a book, Quantum Windows and Dimensions, a Christian woman's journey of faith on ET contact. And in there, she mentions Ort and Dee when she met them in 2015. And that was long before I met Rebecca. So they are reaching out to others now, and I think it's fascinating that I'm here to help and assist with that. So, yeah, and that's the main reason for the education, I think, is that the communication in relation to I can speak with them whenever I want to. I have the telepathic abilities that I developed, and we all have telepathic abilities. We just don't develop them. But I think there's a lot of new research out now about telepathic communication, and it's coming more into mainstream science. So yeah.
Beautiful. My channel is called The Paradigm Experience, and it's all about those moments, right, on all of us have on our journey that you just cannot shake. They shift how you view things. I mean, people can listen to us talk all day long, but until you have your own experience, right, it's just going to be words. At least for me. I mean, there was definitely curiousness. There was, or curiosity, I should say. There was, I was just interested in these kind of topics. But my first paradigm experience was an out-of-body experience. Happened to me about 2 years ago. I was consciously trying to do it. I had learned from someone who I found on YouTube. They apparently could do it. They've been doing it since they were a kid. I thought it was fascinating. And then I saw all these comments of so many other people who claimed they could do it. And I was like, okay, not everybody can be lying. I mean, it just felt true to me. And I said, instead of just believe them, why don't I try this for myself? Took me down a journey. It was probably a 6-month journey of trying to learn the process and ultimately was able to pop out 2 times, not in this universe though. So I wasn't, the way he described it, the person I learned from, his name is Darius J. Wright, is that you can pop out in this world, so in this dimension, and actually see yourself laying in your bed, and you can walk around this world. That is fascinating. I didn't do that. I launched myself into lucid dreams, basically. Right, whether it's a dream or not, I don't know, but I definitely, I mean, it was fully, it felt real, it felt physical, it was unbelievable. And when I went back and woke up, I mean, it changed me. I definitely was like, okay, that was not a dream. And again, anyone sitting here could say it's a dream, but I know it wasn't a dream. Just the way it felt, the way I tried to do it, the vibration I felt from the I call it the center of my being, but it was like every cell was vibrating. It was like I heard a loud snap, and I felt myself floating. I mean, all these things that I've had dreams before, and I've had lucid dreams before this. It was nothing like that. And so when I hear you say that, I go, wow, that's unbelievable. So can you leave your body now? I mean, you're pretty good about
Yes, I can do
popping out. And are you here?
I can go and travel when and where I want. I just relax and
Wow.
open my mind. And I first started doing that when I was 9 years old. Ort came and visited me as a pure conscious energy orb. He stayed in my home for a week from Sunday to Friday. And on the Friday when I came home from school, I realized that he had left. I didn't know it was Ort then, but it was his pure conscious energy orb, and it was in the behind the curtains in the window area of our living room. But after he left, I was able to leave my body at will. I suspect they may have activated something within my DNA. Our DNA is encoded with light frequencies, and these can be activated. So from the age of 9, I travelled outside of the body at will, but I didn't travel very far. I would just usually go and visit my grandparents who lived in Liverpool at the time. I lived in Wakefield in the UK, north of England, and just travel out of body. I would travel over to their home, 70 miles away. I would enter through the roof, and I would sit upstairs in a chair in the dressing room off the master bedroom and look down through the floor, and the floor was opaque. And I could see my grandmother usually cooking in the kitchen on a Sunday, my grandfather reading the newspaper, and the floor was, as I say, was opaque, so I could see them quite clearly. And I often wondered what they would see if they came upstairs to see me where I was sat in this chair. I know the answer to that now. They would have seen my pure conscious energy orb, about 4 to 6 inches across, orange, yellow, golden in colour, slightly vibrating. So yeah, we all have that ability. We just not, as you say, once you've been looking into traveling out of body, how many people are able to do it? The subjects we didn't talk about. I know when I was 17, I had. I thought, well, nobody talks about this traveling out of body, and it's just natural to me. So I asked my family, my friends, and I said, but I asked in a third party. I said, I have a friend that travels outside of his body on a regular basis, and he can travel anywhere he wants to go. Do you know anybody else that can do that? And the answer came back, no, 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 no. He must be delusional. So from then I thought, well, nobody knows anything about it. Nobody's talking about it. And to me, it's normal. I'll ask Ort. So I asked Ort, and he gave me some more experiences, which expanded my understanding of the fact that how we can travel outside of the physical realm as a pure conscious energy orb. And to me, it's normal. I've now been doing it. I say I'm now 71, and I started traveling out of body at age 9. But again, I was guided by Ort. I went to bed one evening, and I held my hand out. And I said, Ort, I know there's a lot more to this. Can you come and show me more? He came, he took hold of my hand. I left my body. I looked down, I could see it. It was fast asleep. We went out through the window, just flew around the subdivision and came back. I saw my body asleep and went back into my body. I thought, well, that's cool, when I woke up the following morning. So I thought I'll try that again on the second night. So I did the same. I relaxed. I opened my mind. I held my hand out. I said, oh, can you come and show me more? I know there's a lot more to this. He came, he took hold of my hand, I looked down, I could see my body asleep. We went out through the window again, and this time we went down into Leeds city centre. And I recognised the buildings there, the university, the town hall, the hospital, and the streets were vibrant with people. It was quite a nightlife in Leeds at that time. And then we flew back to my apartment, in through the window. My body was asleep, and I went back into my body. Woke up the second morning and think, wow, still not certain what's happening, whether I'm sleepwalking or dreaming or what. So I asked on a third night, but I'm concerned about going out through the window because I was 3 stories up in my apartment and it was concrete pavement below. So I said to Ort, can we go out through the roof? Because I'm not certain about going out through the window. He said yes. We went out through the roof. And then every subsequent journey I went with him, I went out through the roof. Now, bear in mind, I was used to travelling on my own out of body, so nothing new there, but travelling with someone else, that was a new experience.
Yeah, I mean, for someone who hears this the first time, they go, "No way." I mean, they go, "No." Yeah, have you had to prove it? I guess you don't need to prove it anymore, but have you had to prove it to anyone, family members, friends, or anything like that, by seeing something, coming back and verifying, or anything like that?
No, I haven't. Um, I don't think it's something you can prove. I've had proof myself. I was travelling. I'd like to go and travel. I'd like to go and look at the different architecture that we have here on the earth. And on this occasion, I'd gone over to Paris. I was looking at the Eiffel Tower and the big fountains and everything. And when I got there, normally it's full of tourists, and there were no tourists about. There was just armed police everywhere. I thought, oh, that's unusual. I wonder what's going on. Anyway, I came back. And then later on, I turned the news on, and it turned out there'd been a threat. So they'd closed the area, obviously put all the police in there, and didn't allow the tourists in. So I saw that live as it was happening. So that's my own proof. And I've travelled with Ort and Dee now many times out of body. It's just normal for me to do that. So, and as you say, the more you talk about it, the more we're all at different levels of development of that and many other. I mentioned using consciousness as a conduit for communication, for travel, for healing, for education, creation, and co-creation. Traveling out of body is just part of the traveling using consciousness itself. So once we learn all the others, I have many examples of all these modalities. So I'm very, very fortunate. My reality is much greater than most. But as I said earlier, I'm meeting people now who have similar experiences, like with Rebecca Renfro. In fact, another friend of mine, Aurora, she has contact. I've got contact with a group of 8 extraterrestrials. They've reached out to her now, and she's doing artwork, portraits, or she's already completed them, of this Council of 8. Well, that's just fascinating. I met them when I was 14. Aurora's just met them, although again with Aurora, she met Ort and Dee in 2015. No coincidence there that Aurora is meeting Ort and Dee, Rebecca Renfro is meeting Ort and Dee, and then I meet Rebecca and Aurora, 10 years later, 10 years later. So I don't have to convince them about Ort and Dee or travelling out of body. I don't know that Aurora travels out of body, but she's certainly got contact with the non-human intelligence, the higher consciousness beings, shall we say, the extraterrestrials, whatever name you want to put on them. So I don't have to prove to anybody. I remember when I said to Ort, when he asked me to talk about it, I said, but people won't believe me. He said, well, Kevin, it doesn't matter whether people believe you or not. What is important is that you tell your story of lifelong contact with us. I now understand that, because if I hadn't spoken out about it, I wouldn't have met Rebecca Renfro, I wouldn't have met Aurora, I wouldn't have met Rebecca Hardcastle-Wright, who's the founder of the Exo-Conscious community. And I wouldn't have met Ray Hernandez. He's just written a book. He's got a 5-volume book out at the moment, A Greater Reality. And if any of your listeners are interested, if you go onto agreaterreality.com, you can download all 5 books for free in a PDF file. And I have a chapter in volume 5 covering some of my experiences. So if you're interested in that, and the volume 5, each chapter is an experiencer like myself. So if I hadn't have spoken out, I wouldn't be in that book. I've met other people that are in that book now, and our stories are very, very similar. We all seem to have one small piece of the jigsaw, and when you put those pieces together, we see the whole picture, really, as much as they're allowing us to see at this moment in time. So I think it's fascinating. And you did ask earlier, why was I chosen? I don't think I was chosen. I think we choose from the soul level. And the soul levels are frequencies of consciousness themselves. We choose to come down here to the third dimension. And the only difference between the dimensions are the frequencies of consciousness themselves. And I was given an equation as a download for calculating the frequencies of the different dimensions, the frequencies of consciousness in each dimension. And I've published that in Ray Hernandez's book. So if you've got any people, any scientists listening, if they're interested in that. And I was also given another equation for the void of consciousness. And I was taken to the edge of the void of consciousness when I was 17, I believe, about 17. Ort came and we travelled out of body and we went to, I didn't know it was the void of consciousness then. He said, Kevin, where would you like to go tonight? And I said, I was being flippant. I said, I'd like to go to the end of the universe, just being flippant. Well, we set off and we kept going and going and going and going. And I was a bit apprehensive because I'd never travelled so far with him before, and I kept tight hold of his hand. And then we stopped and we sat down. And I said, oh, are we at the end of the universe? He said, no, but there's plenty of room out there for consciousness to expand and grow. So I didn't understand that then. But recently I was given an equation and an explanation for the void of consciousness. And this is where I went then with, this is how I have the lessons. As I say, they don't sit you down in the classroom, although on that occasion we were sat down. And I said, what did I say to him then? Oh, I forget now. I lost my train of thought there for a minute, Seggy.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's so much. I mean, I don't even know how you recall anything. There's probably thousands of encounters. So impressive. What you said that your role was to talk about it, right? To normalize it almost. And then there's probably thousands of others out there who are also talking about it. When you said something like they're coming or they're for the grand reveal, maybe is what you said, something like that. What does that mean?
Right. Okay. Well, this particular group, I was introduced to a group of 8 beings when I was 14. I had a paper round, and as I was doing the paper round, as I left my home, a UFO would appear above my home, and then a second one would always appear. They would follow me around the paper round, and then when they finished, one would go straight up into space. Another would go back in the way that it had come from. While that was happening, I always felt this frequency of someone behind the hedge, behind the wall. So on one occasion, I plucked up courage and I said, I know you're there. Can you show yourself? 2 small greys stepped out from behind the hedge, behind the wall. And I said, what do you want? I wasn't frightened. They said, there's a group of people that would like to meet with you. I said, well, I've got my paper round to finish and I've got to go to school. I don't think I'll be able to go with you. They said, well, you've nearly finished your paper round now. You can finish that and then we'll have you back in time for school. So I agreed to go with them. We travelled up to a large mothership. I believe it was a mothership because when we docked in the hangar, it was the size of a football stadium or 2 football stadiums side by side. It was huge with all these different craft. I was led into the main body of the craft and down into an amphitheatre. And the amphitheatre was full of all these different beings. At the front of the amphitheatre were 8 beings, and these were the ones that I was there to be introduced to. First of all, there was Ort and Dee, the 2 that I'd met in my bathroom when I was 8. Then there was Anna, she was a bluebird type being. And then Zark, he's a small grey, he's a scientist himself, a mathematician, an engineer, designs propulsion systems. I know a lot about him. And then there was a big guy sat in the middle, Ra. He looked like an ancient Egyptian. He was Anunnaki, and he leads this group. And then Tag, he was a tall grey. He was told me he was responsible for not only the security of this quadrant of the galaxy, but for the security of this Council of Eight. And then Chica, I was a bit apprehensive when I met Chica. He was a tall mantis being. Although they were sat down, I could tell he was well over 6 foot tall, just like our mantis beings we have here, the small ones. I have some in my garden occasionally. And then the last one was Orla. She was a tall white. She very pale complexion, and her hair was translucent. You could see through it. So these were the 8 that I was introduced to when I was 14. I've still got contact with all 8 today. And it's interesting that these 8 now are reaching out to Aurora. As I mentioned, she's a member of the Exo-Conscious community founded by Rebecca Hardcastle-Wright. And she's now channeling portraits of these people after attending a CE5 meeting and at another friend who just happens to be a member of the exo-conscious community. I don't really notice there's a thread here now. People are being contacted who are members of the exo-conscious community with the same group, with the same extraterrestrials. And they are here to assist in our evolution. They tell us that they will share some of their technologies with us when we have open contact. I was asked a few years ago to connect with our United Nations in relation to having a mandated protocol implemented to receive them. And at that time, our governments weren't ready to receive our extraterrestrial star families, so it didn't go any further than that. But now they're changing tack. The citizens of Earth will make the request for the reveal itself. We now have a protocol that we've written, that I wrote. We also have a planetary constitution, which is on the Exo-Conscious community website, if you want to read that. And the portraits are there of the Council of Eight. If you go onto the gallery and click on Aurora's name, you can see all the artwork that she's channeled. And she couldn't draw a stick figure before, and the artwork is tremendous. And that's how we're reaching out. And Aurora and I are writing a book together, which will include all her artwork and this story that's encompassing, that it's enlarging now, bringing other people into it. So from being just me on my own, not talking about it, we have got a whole family now where the extraterrestrials are reaching out, and we learn, we teach ourselves now. I'm able to share what I know about consciousness. Other people share what they know about certain sections, and then we grow and grow together. So we will be in a position to request our star families reveal their presence globally. So that's where we're heading, and that's part of my role. And I noticed this week that Chris Bledsoe went to a Contact in the Desert conference, and Rebecca Hardcastle-Wright was also a speaker there. Well, Chris Bledsoe, he goes outside, asks them to show a craft, and the craft turns up. He asked them to show a craft at 9:45 p.m., and it turned up at 9:47, a little bit late, but where it's really demonstrating that people can connect with our higher conscious beings, connect with the craft, ask them to show themselves. So the next step is ask them to come down and land. Perhaps Chris Bledsoe will do that in front. I think he said there was a crowd of about 400 at this conference when he did the CE5 outside. So clearly they're stepping up their contact with many individuals, and I'm not important in this at all, just other than I'm a small piece of this jigsaw, and I'm putting the pieces together and then sharing with the help of people like yourself, Segi, sharing the information. But while I'm doing that, we are expanding our collective consciousness. And the piece I forgot when I lost my memory a minute ago was about the void of consciousness. And this is very important, because the void of consciousness is where all past, future, present timelines come from. But it's not void as the name suggests. It's full of infinite possibilities, infinite potential with intentions. So we co-create. our reality, which is what we are doing. And when we understand this, and I was given an equation for calculating that, which again is in Ray Hernandez's book. So if anybody's interested in that equation, you can have a look at that there. But it shows they've raised my understanding of consciousness, and there are many others as well. It's not just me. There are many others. But eventually, I'm sure the groups will come together, and then we will make that request from the citizens of Earth for our star families to reveal their presence globally. They are already doing that to individual people, but now we want to open that up to our globe, to our governments. They know they're here anyway, so that's where we're heading. So I think it's quite exciting that I realise now by speaking out over these past 7 or 8 years, I'm still learning. I'm still learning a lot. They're giving me more information. As I get to a stage where I need more information, they'll introduce me to someone else. And the reason why we have the void of consciousness equation is because a leading scientist called Sperry Andrews, unfortunately he's passed now, but he contacted me. I was a guest on the Jeff Mara show podcast, and he saw me speaking on there. So he contacted me, and we had many conversations on Zoom. And I say he was a leading scientist in consciousness, and it found that many of my practical experiences dovetailed with his theories, which was fascinating. And then one day, Sperry asked me, he said, "Kevin, can you ask Ort and Dee what they know about the void?" I hadn't heard about the void then. I wasn't aware what it was. I asked. They gave me the explanation of the void of consciousness with the explanation of the void of consciousness with the equation. So now we know where the timelines come from. Now we know how to create them. But I thought it was fascinating that a leading scientist would ask an experiencer to ask his guides and teachers. That's really a huge leap, I think, for our scientists, for our science itself. So we as we learn and expand our collective consciousness, then we as a society, we as humanity, can make that request.
What do you think they're either waiting for to show on a global level? Because it does feel like there's a lot of conversations around this. In particular, this year, it's really ramped up in the U.S. But what are they waiting for, and or is there something that we need to do before there's this big reveal?
No, I don't think we need to do anything. I think the wheels are in motion. There are many people working towards this. And I know that Costa McCreese, he has a global C5 group. And if any of your listeners are interested, if you go on to etletstalk.com, you can become a member and participate for free. It gives you a global map of where the groups are. And these groups go out on a monthly basis, sit in their yards, sit in their gardens, and ask the craft to show themselves. They now have over 1 million members doing this every month. So we are reaching out through these different groups, through Costa McCreese and his work, because that's his piece of the jigsaw. That's what he's been told to do. That's what he's doing. And so it's all in motion now. It's just a matter of maybe expanding from the 1 million to get double that possibly. I haven't been given any figures, but clearly there's a new group as well, the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. They're doing a tremendous amount of work. They're trying to work with the governments in relation to, I don't know whether they're working towards the reveal itself, but surely as they get more and more information, more and more information comes out about the experiences, they become confident in the experiences, because we're not able to prove anything in relation to our actual experiences. But when you get a large number of people all having similar experiences, all going out into their yards and asking the extraterrestrials to show their craft, and they do, then that's it. The importance of that is it's changing our collective consciousness. It's like you, Segi. You hear about people traveling out of body, and until you do it yourself, you don't believe it, because you need that experience. I have a friend of mine who was always a skeptic about UFOs and ETs, And in fact, I was talking to him yesterday, and he comes over. He's a retired detective from the UK. He comes over once or twice a year. And one afternoon, we were sat by my pool, and I asked him if he wanted a beer. And he said yes. So I went inside to get a beer. As I reached into the refrigerator to get the beers, I said to my guides, now will be a good time to show my friend a craft. So I took the beers outside. I sat down with the beers. And no sooner as I sat down, a craft appeared behind my home, below the tree line. It moved about in a very unusual manner, and then it shot straight up in the air. Well, it changed. He saw it. We all saw it. There was four of us sat there, my wife, his wife, and him. And it changed his reality because he had an experience. He now believes in the extraterrestrials. He now believes in the UFOs. And he now does his own research. And he now talks about it. I think last time he was over, I said, Kevin, can we do a CE5 and see if we can get the craft to come? And he thinks on one occasion when he was here, there was a bright light outside the window. We live in the country on 5 acres on a dirt road, so we don't get much traffic at night. And this bright light lit up the outside of his bedroom window, and he thinks that was a craft. He thinks he had some more contact there. So once you make that contact and you're open to it and you're not frightened to it, and like yourself, you can ask. We all have guides. We all have staff, family members. We can ask them for help and assistance, which is what I've done from the age of 9. I've always asked for assistance. So yeah.
That's incredible. Do you think this grand reveal, we'll call it, will be done in your lifetime? Like, do you think
Yes,
this
I'm
is something
hopeful.
that, I mean, we're talking 5, 10 years maybe away, or maybe sooner? We don't know.
Yes, I don't know. I haven't been given a date. They gave me a
Okay.
date a few years ago to meet at the UN. I can't remember the date now. I'd have to look at my notes. But so I contacted the UN at that time, and they weren't really interested. But with that particular story, it was interesting that another person, Terry Lovelace, was given the exact same information that I was given from his Star Family Guide. And Terry Lovelace is a retired assistant district attorney for 2 jurisdictions, a retired law professor, so he's very well respected, a retired military. He's got his own book out about one of his experiences. I think it's Incident at Devil's Den, I think. And he contacted me, and I said, he said, Kevin, I've been given exactly the same information about you, about that you've been given. I said, well, I've written to Nicholas Hedman in Vienna at the UN. I've written to Dr. DiPippo in Washington, D.C., in the UN office there. And he said, well, I know Dr. DiPippo. I will write to him as well, supporting what you're saying, because and I've got the emails that he sent to him, uh, requesting that, they meet at the UN on a specific time and date. Anyway, neither of us received a reply. I wasn't expecting to. But then Terry Lovelace then went through the back channels of government that he knew, and in his words, he was given the pushback. So clearly, our governments are still not ready. I know they are having the different committees, the congressional committees, and hearings on this, so they are moving forward. But it's difficult for, as you say, Skeggy, when unless you've had an experience yourself, it's very difficult to understand it and believe it. I mean, when I talk about my experiences, they are way out there in relation to. Now, other experiences understand them because they've had very similar ones. So they understand a bit without any knowledge of it whatsoever. You're like my detective friend from the UK, you are a skeptic until you've got your own evidence. So I think that's where we are at the moment in relation to. But what I find fascinating is is the exo-conscious community. I was introduced to Rebecca a few years ago now, and it's interesting that this Council of Eight are reaching out to members of the exo-conscious community. And again, if you want to go on to exoconscioushumans.com, you can get, there's lots of information there, lots of interviews and things. Go onto their YouTube and go onto videos. There's a channel I did I was requested by this Council of Eight. They wanted to speak to the exo-conscious community. And I fell into channeling accidentally a number of years ago. And in fact, I've got another book here, Forbidden Knowledge by Kathleen Marden. And it has over 100 questions that we asked this Council of Eight. They were transcribed, and Kathleen Marden has put them into her book, Forbidden Knowledge. So again, that's another person that's got contact with the same group of 8 extraterrestrials. So clearly, and there must be others yet, but I haven't discovered, but I'm sure we will as we move forward in relation towards the reveal, and at some point they will give us a date and time and location. And it may well be Chris Bledsoe that leads that, because he seems to be the most popular person at the moment in relation to his contact. And I think his book, UFO of God, is a bestseller in 3 categories. And I think it's been translated into a couple of different languages as well. So he's well known. He's well known for inviting the craft to appear. And he also has a divine feminine, I think, that appears. He calls her the White Lady. He asks her to appear. It's like an apparition, a vision, but she appears when he makes that request. So I suspect that's for our religious people who may have some difficulty with the transition from our religions to include our extraterrestrial star families. And I think Chris Bledsoe will be leading in that area, I think. We each seem to have a particular expertise in an area, and then they'll all be brought together. I don't know the full blueprint that they have or plan yet, but clearly I'm part of it, as many others are. So these are really exciting times again. And people like yourself, you're part of it, because you're sharing the information, you're putting the information out. It's an important part. And we need to educate our younger generations, because they're the ones that are going to be living with this. They're the ones that are going to benefit from it. So we need old people like me. I'll die off at some point in the future, as we always do. So we need this information to come out for the younger generation, our future generations, our children of today. So I do think it's exciting times, and I find it fascinating that I now see this picture coming together. And as you said earlier, if I hadn't have spoken out, I wouldn't have known all of this. I wouldn't have met all these amazing people. So really, it's just I think really I'm a messenger, really. I think that's my role as well. But to be that messenger, I remember once they gave me a message for Dr. Stephen Greer, and I didn't know him at the time. I knew of him, and I was actually travelling out of body. I was on the astral plane, and then Ort and Dee came alongside me in a craft, which was a conscious craft, and they invited me on board. I went through the skin of the craft. I could tell it was conscious. Inside, I could see Ort and Dee as pure conscious energy orbs. On this occasion, I asked them, I said, let me see if I understand this correctly. Again, this was another lesson before the message. Let me see if I understand correctly. We've got 3 beings here, me being from the 3rd dimension, you, Ort and Dee, you 2 being from the 5th dimension. All 3 of us are travelling out of body on the astral plane in a conscious craft that you've created through thought and consciousness. Ort said, yes, that's correct. I said, well, I see you 2 as a pure conscious energy orb, round, golden yellow in colour, slightly vibrating. How do you see me? And they said, Kevin, we see you exactly the same. So it shows that we have those abilities that they have. We just live in a different dimension. And as I said before, the only difference between the dimensions are the frequencies of consciousness. But then they gave me this message for Dr. Stephen Greer. So I got the message. I left the craft, and then I said, well, they want to know who the message is from. I can't say it's Ort and Dee, because he won't have a clue who you are. So I went back on the craft. I said, who shall I say the message is from? They said, tell him it's from the light beings. I hadn't heard that term before. So I left the craft. I went back to my body. I could see it asleep. I went back into my body. I woke up. I wrote the message down and put it on the side of the bed. The following morning, I woke up. I read the message. I screwed it up and threw it in the trash can. I said, I'm not doing that. How can I do that? How can I say to a man who I don't know, I knew of him, but I didn't know him, I was travelling outside of my body when I met Ort and Dee, fifth dimensional beings on a craft, and they gave me a message for you. I mean, he'd think I was a lunatic or mental or whatever. So I said, no, I'm not going to do it. That evening, they came to me in a dream, and dreams are modalities of contact. They explained the reason why the message was important. So I woke up the following morning and decided I would convey the message. But then, obviously, I don't know him. I knew of him. I thought, well, how will I find him? I thought, I'll go onto YouTube and put his name in. So I went onto YouTube, put his name in, and the first video that came up, he was at a conference in DC. I think it was a press conference in DC. And sat next to him was a police officer from the UK. I didn't know him personally, but I knew of him. And he worked as a PC in the same area. In fact, I heard him talking once about his first UFO he saw was in Wakefield. I was in Wakefield when I was seeing my UFOs outside of my house. So there's that connection there. So I contacted him and I got his phone number and I told him the message I was given and how I was given it. He was non-judgmental. His name's Gary Hesseltine, by the way. I think he's now the vice president of ISA. So he's moved up the scale, as it were, within the UFO communities. And anyway, he conveyed the message to Dr. Stephen Greer, and 20 minutes later, I got a reply. He thanked me for the information, said he would take it under advisement, and he also sent me a photograph of a light being he had taken while he was out in the field. So that was confirmation for me that he understood where the information was coming from. And I felt a weight off my shoulders there. But I did say to Ort later, I said, why did you give me such a difficult message to convey? And they said, Kevin, we wanted to see if you would convey messages from us. I do now. I understand the importance of it. And I have full confidence in what information they give me. So really, I am just a messenger. But I see now that this messenger is bringing different groups together. He's seen a story, seen a pattern outside of what the governments are talking about, outside of the UFO communities that are doing all the research into the nuts and bolts. This is a much larger picture. And we've got the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, we've got the exo-conscious community, we've got individuals now communicating with the same 8 extraterrestrials, and that's important. I've also had a friend of mine, Dr. Melanie Barton. I was at Gary Bors's home. We were doing a C5 meeting, and Gary uses the radios, first used by Jimmy Blanchett to connect with the star families. And we were sat outside, and the radios were chirping. And I said to Gary, why is it chirping? He'd got 4 or 5 radios out. So Kevin, they want you to pick up the radio and speak into it. So I picked it up and I said, is there anybody there? Well, it chirped once for yes. And then Melanie said, can you give us a verbal voice? Can we hear a verbal voice through the radios? Because the radios just use 1 click for yes, 2 clicks for no, 3 clicks for maybe, 4 clicks for happiness and enjoyment or whatever. So then a female voice came through, and that gave me the idea that's probably Dee. So I said, is that Dee? And it clicked once for yes. And then I asked, is Ort there? Once for yes. Then I asked, is Zach there? 2 clicks for no. But then we had a conversation with Ort and Dee via the radios at a CE5 meeting. So that's a step further, having direct confirmation of talking with 2 of these Council of 8 via the radios. So that really, they're just expanding our communication a little bit at a time. And because Dr. Melanie Barton is very well respected, these people are, most of them, very well educated, not like myself. So they have some standing within society. They have some standing within the scientific community. So I still think it's fascinating that I'm part of it. And to answer your question, I hope it happens before I go. I don't want to die until I'm 95 because I enjoy being here. My grandfather lived until he was 94, and I always said I want to live until I'm 95. I wanted to outlive him. And so that's my goal. I hopefully can achieve that. So, and hopefully we will have the reveal within that time. But clearly, they've got their own orchestrated plan. Myself and many others are part of that. So clearly, once you put this story together, it's quite fascinating. It goes beyond my own personal experiences then, because it's encompassing many other people in relation to the reveal now.
Okay, what can the average person? So I put myself in this category. Who's curious about this? What would you recommend for them to do to either A, push this forward, or experience something themselves? Like, I think I'm big on that. I want other people to experience it. Heck, I want to experience it over here, Kevin. I want to see. What should I do? Should I just ask? I mean, is it
Yes,
about getting quiet, meditation,
that's
asking?
That's the key. What I would say to people, what I do, if I'm wanting to make contact, I can contact any time, but if I'm wanting to ask for something, or I need something specific, or I need to get some guidance in something, when I go to bed, I relax, I open my mind, I still hold my hand out, and I'll
What
ask
does
the
open
question.
your mind mean? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but what does that mean when you say open your mind?
Okay, that's a very good question now, because my wife says to me, "What do you mean by opening your mind? I can't open my mind. What do you mean?" It's really, I think, relaxing the mind, getting rid of all the chatter, so it's blank, so it allows information to come in. So that's opening the mind. Perhaps calming the mind might be a better term, but I consider I'm opening it to larger signals coming in, the frequencies of consciousness to come in. So if you do it before you go to bed, you relax, you think about it. You've probably had the intention during the day that you're going to ask this question. So you are really looking at the possibilities, looking at the potential. You're asking with the intention all the things that we use for creation and co-creation. So you're creating the information coming through to you. And then as you fall asleep, contacting by a dream modality is a very easy way for them to do it. It's not frightening to the person, shall we say, have a nightmare, but so relax, open your mind, allow the information to come in, ask the question, and see what we've all got guides, we've all got teachers, we've all got extended star families. Ask a guide. Some people ask the archangels. If you're a religious person, ask the archangels. They will communicate with you. Ask deceased members of your family. They will give you information because they're not dead. They're only at the higher frequencies of consciousness without a physical. You can still communicate with them. You can still meet with them. They can still give you information. And it might not come immediately when you wake up in the mornings. Mine very often does. It might be something you see during the day. It might be a song that's played on your radio that gives you the answer. Or it might be a number that you see, or a film title, or something in nature that attracts your attention and gives you the answer. There are many ways, many modalities of contact, but again, we have to be aware of them. You have to see them, and then you have to understand them. But asking is the key. If you don't ask, and you can ask for others, like I did with my friend who didn't believe in extraterrestrials, I asked them to show him a craft, and they did. But I think that's what will happen when we have the reveal itself. The globally, the people who don't believe, who are skeptics, will be like my friend. They will be now open to the fact that there are extraterrestrials. We are part of a larger galactic family. Our human history has been hidden from us, and certainly our galactic history is denied us. And now we can experience that through the reveal itself and evolve as a species and develop our natural human abilities of communication, travel, healing, education, creation, and co-creation using our consciousness, our cosmic consciousness, as it were, which is in all matter, um, all beings, all plants, trees, animals, everything has consciousness in it.
Okay, there is a feeling I actually just want to get your opinion on it. Maybe it is or it isn't. But when I meditate and I get to it doesn't happen every time. Um, but it's definitely happened, I would say a handful of times where I hit this place. And the best way I could describe it, Kevin, is if you clench your fist like this, like that feeling, it's almost like I don't realize I'm doing that all day. All day I'm actually clenched and because I hit this spot and it feels like it's up here in my head, like that releases and there's like an expansion feeling, which kind of reminds me of what you're saying when you open your mind because people will be like, "What are you talking about?" But that's kind of the feeling I get from meditation when I hit a certain spot. It's like this releasing almost. Is that what you're talking about, or am I?
Well, now you've explained it like that, I would say yes, that's a very good analogy. You're releasing all that tension, releasing all that chatter, opening the mind up, relaxing the body, and allowing the information to flow into you, so you have the. But because you are asking as well, because we are really souls having a physical experience. Uh, Rather than being a physical person having a soul. It is the soul that is a life force within within the universe itself. And when we realize that, we restrict our realities by our thoughts. And when you understand the creation side of thought and consciousness, then you can expand your own knowledge by asking. You're only asking teachers and guides as you would when you went to school, or if you went to university, or if you went to college or whatever. The teachers give you the information. Well, it's the same here. And that analogy is letting go, allowing. And I think doing it before you go to sleep is the easiest and best way to do it. But I can also, if you've got time, I can
Yeah.
tell you a simple exercise to leave the body and travel onto the astral plane. Now, I've done this since childhood. What I do, again, I relax, I find a quiet space, I close my eyes, I look inward, and I keep looking inward, keep relaxing. You might see some changing colours, variation. Keep looking inward, keep looking inward, keep relaxing, and then you'll see an eye appear, or what looks like an eye. Then you change direction and go through the eye. When you get through the eye, you'll see like a myriad of stars. They're not stars, you are on the astral plane and you are out of body. Now, the key then is keeping that frequency, staying there and traveling. And then from there, staying there, traveling and meeting other people. And then you can get to a stage where you can create your own conscious craft and go and travel in a conscious craft as they do by expanding your collective consciousness. So to me, it's simple because I've been doing it since a childhood, but we all have these abilities. So try that. I know a friend of mine, Dr. Karen McLeod, she asked me that, and I gave her that information a few weeks ago. And on her first try, she left the body, she got onto the astral plane, and she met a being. And they had a conversation. She had a conversation with this being. Anyway, when she came back, she Googled the being, and this being is all over the place. He's reaching out to lots of different people. His name was the same name. He looked the same by people that had drawn him. So that was confirmation that for her that you can travel out of the body, you can meet other people. And Carrie McLeod's I think she's a psychologist. She's been given downloads about the quantum unified field theory, verbatim to what I've been given. So really, that's confirmation for her, for me, and that's what they do. They're connecting everybody together now. And I said the work that you're doing, Segi, is sharing that information. And I'm sure as you interview all the different experiences, your knowledge itself will expand, where you'll be able to travel outside of your body. You'll be able to go on remote view. You'll be able to go and heal and travel. And so, yeah, it's quite fascinating, really, that we have these abilities, but we're just not taught them.
Okay, I want to just because we got you here. You said look inward. What is that? What does that feel like? So imagine we're closing your eyes and you say you start looking inward. So eyes are closed. Do your eyes actually like do you turn them down or do you imagine? Like
Yeah,
try and
what
describe
I
that
do,
feeling for people.
what I do, I still use my eyes. I can't see because my eyes are closed and it's dark, but I'm using my eyes. I'm looking, and I'm looking downward, and I'm looking downward and inward, and I'm looking for something, and I keep looking, I keep looking, keep looking. Oh, there's an eye. Oh, I'll go through the eye. So it's really looking down, looking inward, using the eyes. I know you're not seeing with them, but the eyes are just a passage for light. So
In
it's
your
a
head, they're turning
yeah,
down. I mean,
they
they're
may well be.
actually
They may be looking down, but I'm using the brain to see through the eyes when they're shut. So it's the brain that's seeing the astral plane. It's the brain that opens it up so you can go and travel on that astral plane. Yeah.
every time I meditate, I see purple, and I see it every single time, purple clouds, and then I see green. And the way I describe it is it reminds me of those, when you see a psychiatrist kind of that like they do those ink, I forget what you call them, but you like show you blotches of ink.
Oh yeah. I
It's
see
kind
that.
of like
Yeah.
it's kind of like that. Like the purple is always swirling around, and then the green though is like this flash, and it's like they're I can't make out what it is. It's never something I can go like, oh, that's a building or it's just like shapes and almost kind of nonsense, but it's green and I'm seeing both purple and green every single time.
Okay.
Do you
Well,
know what that is?
yes. I know what they're just frequencies of consciousness. The purple, I see the purple, but then I tend to go on to the golden yellowy colours, and it's all swirling round. It doesn't take a form. What you've done, you've reached that level of consciousness, so you need to go a little bit further through those colours and then onto the astral plane. But you are certainly getting there with the seeing the colours because you're not seeing them through your eye, you're seeing them through your mind. Your
Hmm.
mind is picking up those frequencies. So that's you're halfway there really to traveling on the astral plane. So I don't know whether do you know your own guides? Do you have them? Do you have names?
No, I am so, but this is new for me. And when I say new, probably the last 2.5 years, I've really been trying to focus on this. But I'm one of those people. I want to meet him. I want to talk to him. I want all these things. I want to communicate. I want to leave my body completely. Like I'm very fascinated with this stuff, and I
Well,
hope to do it.
yeah,
I
well,
really
you
want to
will
do it.
do it because you want to do it, and they want to meet with people who are willing, who are not frightened. Don't be frightened by it. Um, yeah, just try again this evening and keep trying, and until you're able to do it at will. And I say I know many people that do it now. One time, if you spoke out about it, you'd be classed as delusional or whatever. But it's a part of who we are. I think the physical realm restricts what we do. Really, I've got two sides to me: the physical realm and the spiritual realm, with the soul, as it were, that can go and travel and experience other things. So yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I'm super excited. I'm gonna keep. You inspired me again to just keep going. So I'm extremely excited. Thank you so much for being here, Kevin. Your book, Spiritual Consciousness: A Personal Journey, it is on Amazon. It's got incredible ratings. I'm gonna link it down below. I'm super excited. I'm gonna order a copy myself. I'll send you an email once I'm done reading it. But
Okay, that's good. And if you've
thanks for
got any
being here.
more
Anything else?
Yeah, if you've got any more questions, don't hesitate to email me or whatever. And if any of your listeners have got questions, they can contact me at kevinjamesbriggs@gmail.com. I answer all my emails and things. So, and I do have a website, kevinjbriggs.com. There's some interviews I've put on there. And then the other website is the exoconscioushumans.com. There's some interviews on there. There's a channel I did, which was from, I think Ort channeled through me on that occasion, and Ra, two members of the Council of Eight, and they specifically asked me to channel to the exo-conscious community. So clearly they're reaching out through me to them. So we are moving forward. But in fact, you could ask this evening, ask to speak with Ort and Dee. They're out there, they're meeting with
I'm
people. Try
I'm
that.
down.
Go and
Okay.
have a look at their photos, their portraits on the exoconscioushumans.com. Imagine them during the day that you're going to reach out with the intention of making connection with them. You've already got the image in your mind. You're creating that future event by the intention of doing it. And then the more information you've got there, the easier to reach out to, and you may well make contact with them.
I'm super excited. I will do that. Gosh, amazing, fascinating episode. Thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate it. We'll be in touch again. I would love to have you on sometime in the future, sometime in the near
Okay.
future.
Well, when I get my book published with Aurora, really it's encompassing a lot that we've talked about today. Perhaps I could come back and show the book, and we can continue the conversation. There's plenty more to talk about.
100%. Would love that. All right, Mr. Kevin, I will let you know when the episode goes live. Cheers. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
I
Thanks
appreciate
again.
you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.